What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. And today, as like I said last week, and as you can see in the title, I am going to be talking Power Book 2 Ghost. I'm going to do an overall series review, and I'm just going to say before I get started, I do plan on doing this again, but with my friend Corey. Me and him like to have a lot of discussions about Power, and we were originally supposed to do like a video like this, basically talking about Ghost, but around the time that we were supposed to do it, he couldn't make it the specific day that we planned for, and I was sick. So we're gonna try again in the future, but until then, this is basically just my thoughts, and whatever I forget to talk about or whatever I don't touch on in this episode, hopefully we'll get back to it. Me and him can talk a lot, so hopefully we get back to it and that episode when me and him do it together. But for this week's episode, I basically just want to give an overall review to Power Book 2 Ghost. Y'all know I love Power, so I don't mind doing like overall series reviews for shows and stuff like that. Yeah, so y'all just might have heard my cousin's weird notification sound on my phone. But besides that, yeah, so like I was saying, I don't mind doing overall series reviews for shows like Power because I love Power. So, you know, when Force ends, after next season, definitely going to be doing that for this. But basically, how I want to format this is I want to talk about my thoughts going into book 2, like when they first announced it and like what my thoughts was, you know, going into the series. I'm going to talk the overall story of the show. So basically like what was, you know, the point of the show. I'm going to break it down by seasons, how I felt about each season. As far as characters, there's a lot of characters, especially in the Power universe. So I'm just going to keep it to like our main, maybe like 5 to 6 cast members. Like, how did I feel about their characters and where their arcs went? The overall ending of the series, and then I'm going to talk about like what I predict is going to happen into the future of the Power universe. So yeah, without further ado, let's finally get into it. So, like I said, first I want to start with where was my thoughts at when they first announced the show. So, if you guys actually paid attention, when the original Power was coming to its 6th season, before the season premiered, they were going on press runs, and the very first announcement of the show was actually on one of the press stops that they went to. It was like a TV morning show. I don't know. I don't remember which TV morning show they were at, but it was Joseph Sikora, Amari Hardwick, 50 Cent, Notori Naughton, and I think Lila Loren was there and Lala. But when they were talking about like, you know, what was going to happen for season 6, I don't know if it was intended for this to be the formal announcement or, you know, if Joseph Sikora had a little slip up, but he basically said right then and there that Tariq was going to get his own show. So even before season 6 premiered, I already kind of like got in my head like, okay, so no matter what happens in season 6, he's always going to be good. Like there's nothing bad going to happen to Tariq. But then it kind of had me thinking, well, what may happen to Ghost? I didn't think Ghost was going to die, but for Ghost to be so against his son being into the game and for Tariq to, you know, continue the series with his own show, then it kind of set up that, you know, Tariq is going to be in some type of position to where Ghost can't stop him from being in the game. So that's where I was thinking. I think I made it clear on the podcast before that like Ghost dying, I fucking hated that ending. I really wish Ghost had a different ending. But the thing that made me hate Ghost dying even more was the fact that Tariq did it. And I wish that if they were gonna go with Ghost still dying, I wish, because apparently they filmed different endings and 50 actually showed the version, like he leaked it on his Instagram, the version where if Tasha was to shoot Ghost. I also felt like in a narrative and story standpoint that Tasha should have been the one to kill Ghost if Ghost was going to die. Or if somebody that was close to him was going to turn on him. I felt like Tasha should have been the one to do it, because while the show is about Ghost trying to get out of the life, you could also say that the show was just as much about his deception to Tasha by cheating on him and getting with Angela. So I felt like everything would have came full circle a little bit more better to me if Tasha was the one to do it. And even if you guys want to say that, oh, Tariq was the only person that could, you know, get a chance to actually get him, I do feel like Ghost had enough love for Tasha to where he automatically wouldn't have gone into killer mode against her. Yes, I know he put his hands on her in the series, but I'm just saying, personally, me, from the show that I've watched, I do think Tasha could have also got the opportunity as well. And honestly, most of those characters in the Who Shot Ghost series all had the opportunity. That's why most of those characters were used. But to be honest, I do understand why they chose Tariq, and it does kind of set up perfectly for a spinoff. But I'm just saying, if we were going to if we were just going to make all of season 1 about Tariq trying to get Tasha out of jail, she might as well just have done it. They could have just found loopholes. Even if she did do it, they probably could have found loopholes to get her out of it. But it is what it is. Even if they didn't do the ghost, getting shot by somebody close to him, I also did like the idea that Amari Hardwick and Joseph Sikora had, where basically Tommy and Ghost would have went out together against the Italians. But of course, with that idea, we wouldn't have gotten Tommy spinoff. So, basically, they were basically thinking of setting up a whole universe, and the way that they did it here, I guess you could say, perfectly sets up a universe. But in terms of because one thing I did hate about the original Power, or with this whole universe idea, I love that we did get more universe shows for Power. I love that we have more content in the Power universe. But what I hate is when shows endings basically it's just set up. I hate when shows doesn't come to it. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. I hate when shows don't, the story of one specific show doesn't come to a natural conclusion because they're trying to purposely set up what's going to happen next. And it's I feel like there's a way to do that while still honoring the story of the show that we've been watching. Cause even if you guys did want to set up a universe, Ghost and Tommy could have still had that ending where they would have died together, and maybe Tommy would have lost the show, but you guys could have built a show around another character, and Tariq still could have, his dad is dead. Okay, maybe then season 1 is about him maybe getting revenge against the Italians for his dad's death, but seeing how he, wanted Ghost to die, I guess not. But either way, I'm just saying that Tariq still could have gotten a show no matter how y'all ended Power, whether it was him doing it, Tasha doing it, or either if they went with Joseph and Omari's, ending that they preferred. So, that's just kind of how I felt. Now, I did hate Tariq. I'm not going to lie. I fucking hated Tariq. Even before he shot Ghost, I see a lot of people holding on to, Tariq shooting Ghost and stuff like that. And while that was somewhat of an icing on the cake for me, I've been hating Tariq before that moment. So him just shooting Ghost didn't really make me hate him even more. It's just nigga, I already hated you. So, but here's the thing. And I said this to my friends a lot of times. I'm someone where I look at something as a fan, and I look at something as, because you guys know I want to be a filmmaker. So I look at things in terms of story, filmmaking, where things are supposed to go. And I look at things objectively and subjectively. I feel like objectively, I look at it as a film person, and subjectively, I look at it as a fan. So as a fan, I fucking hated Tariq. I didn't want him to get a spinoff, but objectively looking at it, Tariq was the perfect main character for a spinoff. Because one thing I always say all the time, and I talked about this on the podcast before, is I love to see passive and active main characters. Well, I really love to see active main characters, but there's a difference between a passive main character and an active main character. And Tariq is a very active main character, even in the original Power. And when I say active main characters, when you look at shows and movies, you'll see movies or TV shows where the main character is more reacting to what the side characters are doing around them, and they're just kind of getting forced into certain things where they'll have to just fix a problem. Where in Power, Tariq was always active, even as a side character. And even in book 2, he still keeps that active, thing. I know a lot of people say that in book 2, it's basically Tariq fixing a lot of the Tejada's problems. But even with him also fixing a lot of the Tejada's problems, he also does a lot of things that pushes the story forward. So that's why I always said that Tariq was still a good main character. Because even if you hated Tariq, you still understood where he was coming from. While I would not have made a lot of the same decisions that Tariq made, I understand where he was coming from, and he is still a good active main character. So it's not like I didn't feel like book 2 couldn't work. It's just more the fact that I hate Tariq. So, you guys are going to have to put in a lot of work to make me want to continue watching the show. Not because I don't think he would be a good main character, but because he's a fucking asshole. But, you know, and a lot of other Power fans felt like that too when the show was first announced. Hell, even my cousin, the last time I talked to him about book 2, he said that he refused to watch it. He says that he keeps up with the story and he sees some of the clips of the show, but he said that he refused to watch it because he doesn't fucking like Tariq. And I'm like, that's understandable. But yeah, so I remember around that time, I my girlfriend at the time, I was getting her into Power, and she saw the disappointment in my face when it came to the finale, and I kept telling her like, you're not going to like, the finale, and you might not like where the universe is about to go into. And once I finally caught her up to the finale, she was like, Tevin, I really don't want to fucking watch this shit. But the Power fans that we were like, you know what? We're going to watch book 2. We're going to give it a chance. And now this is me transitioning into how I felt each season. Basically, season 1 of book 2, I felt like was actually a really good series, even though it didn't live up to the highs of the original Power, which of course, first season of a show can't have it reach the epic, levels that a old show was at. But I felt like book 2 was, at least season 1 was a worthy continuation of the original series. We got established to Tariq's situation pretty quickly. Got to break his mom out of jail, or not break his mom out of jail, but he got to help his mom get out of jail, for being falsely accused, while also not getting himself in trouble. He also has to figure out, his way into the game without anybody's help for the first time. No Ghost, no Tommy, no Dre. Like, he basically had to figure out how to do everything by himself, all while going to school so that he can get his father's trust. And besides setting things up with Tariq, they also set up things with, Brayden, the Tejadas. Like, I feel like season 1, even though it didn't live up to like the highest highs of the original Power, in my opinion, it still established, the world of book 2 pretty well. And I'm sitting here saying the world like it's a completely different world, but like they established the new characters and basically how like they established the vibe of the show pretty well. Now, I guess I could also talk about the characters in terms of each season. So season 1, like I said, a lot of it really hinged on Tariq basically trying to get his mom out of jail while also not trying to get himself in trouble. And that's where you get Davis and Saxe, where Davis is representing Tasha and Saxe is basically going against Tasha. But then they both secretly work together to try to get Tariq, in jail and get Tasha out. So I like that aspect of it, where Tariq kind of had to like, he wants to help, but he also has to watch his back against the people that's supposed to be helping him. Then you get set up with the Tejadas, where you learn about Monet, Kane, Diana, and Drew. Basically, you also learn about Lorenzo, their dad, who is, in jail throughout the whole show, or throughout half the show. Actually, no, not even half the show. He was in jail for most of season 1 and half of season 2. And you figure out more about their past. And like, basically, I love how they set everybody up. And also, even with Zeke being like somewhat of the thing that brought Tariq to the Tejadas, because the only way that Tariq could go to school is if he tutored Zeke. And basically through his connection with Zeke, that's how he was able to meet the Tejadas and how he was able to, get himself back into the game by working with them. And like I said, season one, great establishing season. Like I said, not better than any of the original seasons of Power, not even, all 6 seasons of the original Power. I still put book 2, season 1 under all of it. But I would say it was still a great establishing season. Then you go into season 2. So Tariq gets his mom out of jail, and he gets her into witness protection because Tommy from the original Power is coming back to kill Tasha. One, because of what she did to Lakeisha in the original Power, but also because she snitched on him in season 1 of book 2, basically saying that he was the one to kill Ghost. So the season finale basically was about Tariq getting his mom out of jail, try to get Tommy to stop chasing after his mom. So he puts Tasha in witness protection so that Tommy can't do nothing. So season 2 of book 2 somewhat also goes back into. Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about Tariq's professor. So Tariq does have 2 professors, Carrie and Jabari. One thing that I liked about season 2, and one thing that Ghost did a lot throughout its run, was kind of go back and forth between whether Tariq wants to be a civilian or whether he wants to be a drug dealer in the game. And one thing that I liked about season 2 is that part of season 2's plot line was about Tariq basically like questioning whether he wants to be in the game, because in the season 1 finale, he had to kill his professor Jabari because Kane and because Jabari was basically studying into Tariq and the Tejadas so that he could write a book. And once Kane found out, Kane basically said, you kill him to prove that you're not working with him. So Tariq had to kill Jabari, and season 2 kind of sees him dealing with the trauma of killing an innocent person for the first time, because and up to this point in the Power universe, Tariq has always killed somebody or was always involved in somebody's death, whether it's in the game or whether they done him wrong in some way, shape, or form. And even season 2 has a scene as basically showing that, where all the people whose deaths he was involved in basically confronted him in a dream. And like I said, most of them were justified, and some of them were like, okay, you can see why they had to go. But in terms of Jabari, he was literally one of the first few people where like this person was completely innocent, like literally had no reason to die for real. Like they could have found any other way, but Tariq still did it. And I like that idea that Tariq, for up to this point, he's always wanted to be in the game, but there was still that little part of him where it's like, did I really want to? And is killing innocent people really worth it? Like, is this part of the game really worth it? And I like that season 2 dealt a lot with that. Season 2 also seen other characters, developing in other ways. Kane was always seen as the hothead and the person that just acted out without really thinking. Season 2, we started to see more of Kane's more smarter and thinking side due to the villain of season 2, Mecca, teaching him a lot of things. Also in season 2, we find out about Monet's past a little bit. Found out that she has a connection to Mecca because Zeke is not really her nephew, but is really her son, her firstborn child that she was pretending was her son, because her and Mecca had Zeke when they were really young. She basically cut Mecca out of her life around that time, and she had Zeke, and she knew that she wasn't really ready to take care of Zeke, so she sent Zeke to go live, I forget where, I think Atlanta, but then she brought him back, around the high school, college years. It's funny because I'm over here basically recapping the whole show, but basically I feel like I gotta recap it so that I can finally say like how I felt about the finale. So if you guys are willing to sit through these recaps, just listen. If you don't, I got time codes in the description, but yeah, whatever. Okay. So back to what I was saying. Monet, we learn a lot more about her. Diana and Drew, honestly, I don't give a fuck about those two, so I really don't remember where their storylines were at. Effie plays more of a part in this season. Tariq also starts officially dating Lauren, which also Lauren was a very innocent person, which is also another reason why he starts to question his standpoint with hurting innocent people in the game. Lauren basically starts officially dating Tariq, but that somewhat also brings her into the game without, without basically trying. Like, she didn't even know that Tariq was a drug dealer until like around the time that they broke up, and she was kind of forced into this shit because of Carrie, Tariq's other professor. Rashad Tate also plays another part, and then Braden, he's still kind of doing his same thing from season 1, but in season 2, he does step a little bit further into the game when he starts hitting licks with Kane and like doing things to help Tariq raise money so that he could, get his sister Yaz out of the foster care system. So basically, where season 1, a lot of his focus was on Tasha, season 2 was more of his focus on trying to protect his younger sister Yaz. So season 2 definitely stepped up, basically stepped up the story for me, and that season 1 established. So yeah, season 1 was more of an establishing season, of course. So season 2, we started to see more of these characters' personalities. We started to see them, grow and do better. And then also, I feel like season 2 is better in terms of like cinematography, like writing and stuff like that. And of course, we got a villain this season, Mecha, which, I mean, I guess you could say technically in season 1, like the justice system was kind of the villain with Sax and stuff like that. But season 2 definitely stepped up in terms of villains, because Mecha is probably my favorite villain when it comes to book 2, which you really don't get too many choices in terms of villains in book 2. Like, you really only got Mecha. Season 3 introduces Noma, and then season 4 introduces Carter. I would say Zion. I would say Zion, but like that nigga was like, he was nothing. So yeah, you really only get 3 real villains in book 2. And Mecha is definitely my favorite, just because he seemed like the villain that Noma was supposed to be. Like, Noma was set up as the international villain that has like all these international connections and stuff like that. But it really felt more like Mecha was more that guy. He had more of an international, feeling to him. And also, he had law enforcement on his side, because you found out later that he was a snitch. And actually, when you really think about it, Mecha basically set up the whole Power universe, because one of the greatest things about season 2 was the twists that they contain. First off, the twist of Zeke actually being Monet's child and actually being the oldest Hada's sibling was really shocking to me. And it was crazy because even in season 1, there was actually little dialogues and little things that would hint towards Zeke being, Monet's son for real. So it was crazy because it almost made you recontextualize season 1 in certain aspects. And I was like, oh yeah, so that was a really great moment. And then I think it was like the last episode of season 2 where Mecha and Tariq has an interaction in Tariq's dorm room, and Mecha basically explains that, yeah, he was an informant and he snitched on Lobos, which, if you guys keep up with the original Power, Lobos was Ghost and Tommy's original boss in season 1. And the only reason that Angela and the New York task force was even looking into Ghost was because Mecha snitched on Lobos, and they found out that Lobos's distributor, Ghost, was in New York. So basically, Mecha set up, or not, he indirectly, not really that he set up Angela and the task force directly, but he indirectly set up Angela to move back to New York for her to see Ghost and somewhat set the events of the original Power in motion. So it's crazy that like Mecha, they killed him off so early. I hate that they killed him off so early. And Me and one of my friends was actually talking about this, where he was saying like, okay, yeah, you can see how it happened, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't keep him around longer. It's not like the writers couldn't have came up with a way for him to live longer and be more of a threat to Tariq and the Tejadas for like the rest of the show. So what I'm basically saying is, and I'm rambling like a motherfucker, but what I'm basically saying is, Mecha was a great villain, not even just for season 2, but apparently just for the whole Power universe in general, seeing how he set in motion everything that's happened literally since episode 1 of the original Power. So, like I said, season 2, while it's not my favorite season of book 2, it is definitely probably my second favorite season of the whole series, and it definitely recontextualizes a lot of what you see in earlier seasons of Power thus far. So yeah, season 3. Season 3, I said this before, season 3, easily my favorite season of book 2. So Mecha, taken out of the picture. Mecha's death basically introduced us to Noma, because Noma was apparently engaged to Mecha so that she could become a US citizen. And that's when Noma basically becomes the main villain of season 3. She forces Tariq, Brayden, and Tejadas to work for her. And season 3 is my favorite season for multiple reasons. I feel like Tariq was at his best character-wise here. And because I'm not going to lie, in season 2, even though I started to slightly... I'll say this. In season 1 and 2, I did care about Tariq somewhat because he is our main character, but in season 3 it actually made me start to like his character a little bit more. They kind of made him a little bit more, witty, more smart, not more smarter, but they made him more like funnier with the other characters. I feel like he wasn't just all doom and gloom. Like, I started to see more of a personality to Tariq in season 3. He wasn't talking as much shit about ghosts as he usually does in season 3. It seemed like he was more focused on what was going on with him and his life. Season 3 is also my favorite because one thing about me, Brayden is my favorite character, and I feel like season 3 really developed Brayden's character so much more. We got to see more of Brayden's family aspect. Because they were working for his family's firm. Also, his sister started going to school with Diana, so we got to see more of Brayden and his family in season 3. Not to mention Brayden's first kill was a crazy scene. Like, we were all waiting for it, but I didn't think it was going to pop off like that with him throwing his uncle off of a roof. Like, that was fucking crazy. Season 3, also, we got to see more of Kane just being smarter. See, here's the thing. Kane, he's a very love-hate relationship character with me, because I love Kane when he's on his smart shit, when he's on his savage shit, but I hate when he's so focused on Tariq and, when he's so pussy whipped with Effie and Noma, which we'll get into that with season 4. But when Kane is on his shit, he's literally my favorite. Or when Kane is on his shit, he's tied for my favorite character in book 2. But overall, Brayden is still my main character. Is my favorite main character. Drew and Diana. Diana's basically like, oh, I want to go to school. I don't want to be in the family business. I just want to go to school. Drew, he's fucking a new nigga now. I mean, that's pretty much most of Drew's storyline throughout book 2, if I'm gonna be honest with you. What dude is he fucking? That's pretty much it. Monet in season 3, she obviously wants to find out who killed Zeke, which at the end of season 2, like I said, Lorenzo gets out of jail in the middle of season 2, and he accidentally kills Zeke, thinking that it's Mecha at the end of season 2. So Monet wants to figure out who killed Zeke, and that's pretty much her plot line for most of season 3. Once she finds out, she gets Lorenzo the fuck out of here. Lorenzo is packed up halfway through season 3. So yeah, then her plot line becomes that she's trying to keep a secret from her kids that she basically killed their father. So yeah, season 3 was a very good season, not just in terms of characters, but even in terms of story. Noma, even though a lot of people talk shit about Noma's as a character, Noma as a villain. To be honest, she was at her best in season 3. I don't care what nobody says. A lot of the shit that people be talking about Noma mostly became an issue because of season 4. But if you look at season 3, she was actually a threat. I don't care what nobody's talking about that, and I'll debate it with people. Noma was actually a threat in season 3. Season 4, okay, you can say that she was on her, she was on her weak shit. But season 3, she was a boss. So I don't care what nobody say. Not only that, but the ending of season 3 literally had one of the best endings ever in the Power universe. Like the end of a season, nothing got me more hyped than the ending of season 3. And like it was killing me waiting the year to see like, yo, what is going to happen after this explosive ass ending. So yeah. Season 3 just had a lot of great moments. Tommy came back, and even though I hated to see Tommy squash things with Tasha because I really wanted him to pack Tasha up. I fucking hate Tasha, want her to get packed up. But seeing Tommy come back, and I'm not gonna lie, it did put a little smile on my face seeing Tommy and Tasha be cool again, talking about smoking weed, talking about life again, like how they used to do in the original Power. So I like the call back to that. Like, even though I hated Tasha still being alive, I do gotta admit that it did set up a great moment for Tommy and Tasha's characters. So season 3 just had a lot of things that I loved. And I would say that season 3 is probably the only season of Ghosts that I would put on par with the original seasons of Power. Because, like I said, I like Ghosts. Most of it is just not touching the original Power, in my opinion. So season 1 and 2 is honestly, season 2 is probably nah. I'm tripping. Season 1 and 2 is under the original 6 seasons of Power, but season 3 of Ghost, I would probably have to put it, maybe someday I'll do an episode where I rank each season of the Power universe, but I'll probably put season 3 in the middle of the original seasons of Power. Like, season 3 was a really good season. I wonder what the writers were on. And why the fuck did they not keep doing that same shit for season 4? Now, I didn't hate season 4 like most people did. Season 4 is still a good season, and it is still a very slight third under season 2. Because season 3 is like miles above season 2 of book 2 for me. But season 4 is like right underneath book 2. I feel like if there was better writing decisions, book 4 could have easily been the second best season. But season 4 of book 2, I wonder what happened there. So season 4 basically picks up where season 3 ended, where Tasha shot Monet, but the Tejadas and Noma are under the belief that Kane, Noma, and Monet is under the belief that Tariq shot Monet. And Drew and Diana lied, knowing damn well that Tariq didn't do it. Or the plan was for Tariq to do it, but it was basically a whole lot of miscommunication. Drew and Diana knew that Tariq didn't do it. And Kane and Noma believed that Tariq did it. And they were all trying to take out Tariq at the end of season 3. Brayden came in and saved the day. And the whole first episode of season 4 had us all fooled. We thought this season was going to be amazing from the first episode, because that thing was action packed. Like, completely action-packed. And then it saw Tariq and Brayden start to question, like, do we really want to be in this game? Like, is all this shit really worth it? Because Tariq is over here fighting for his life. He basically doesn't have his family to contact that much. Brayden is over here losing his family, and his family basically cuts him off. Like, he don't really even talk to none of them besides his sister maybe one more time after this episode. Like, Tariq and Brayden was really going through it. So they were really starting to question, like, do we really want to be in this game? Oh yeah, I forgot to say Effie and Kane has a very forced romance. They had a forced romance that started last season, but now it's really fucking forced. Like they were just fuck buddies last season, but now this season apparently they're star-crossed lovers out of fucking nowhere. Diana, she still wants to get out of the game and at the beginning of season 4, but then Drew, I guess he just decides that he's fully about this game because we only get like a few scenes of season 4, like very few rare scenes where he's actually talking about whether he wants to be in the game or not. And most of season 4, he just kind of does shit in the game without even any questions asked, and he just does what he does. Like, I don't know. So the little back and forth in his head about wanting to be in the game or not is barely addressed. Monet is fighting for her life after getting shot, and yeah, so we see flashbacks with Monet, and she's trying to figure out whether, all of this is really basically everybody is kind of in episode 1 besides Kane. Everybody is kind of in a state of, is all this shit really worth it? So season 4 carries on. Tariq and Brayden are broke for like one fucking episode, and then they decide, yeah, we want to get back in the game. Being normal ain't worth it. In one episode, like, we're not going to give the storyline a little bit more time to marinate, but okay. So, yeah, they're back in the game. They start selling drugs with Zion against Noma's, truce, basically saying that as long as they're not selling, she won't try to kill them. So Tariq uses Noma's daughter, Anya, as a way to not, get in beef with Noma, basically just using Anya. And then there's just a whole bunch of clusterfuck things that happen this season. Brayden becomes a fucking junkie, which the writers are being so unfair to Brayden because he's done so much for Tariq, just for Tariq to kind of throw him to the side in the finale. And I don't want to hear all that, oh, but he's a liability. Honestly, Tariq has been sober this season, and he still made just as much bad decisions as Brayden. So I don't even want to fucking hear that. Also, when I say that they're being unfair to Brayden, and this isn't me just saying this because he's my favorite character of book 2, but Tommy used to be a fucking junkie, and, everybody loves Tommy, and nobody was saying anything about Ghost needs to cut Tommy off. Yes, in the show they said that, but most fans did not say that. So before anybody tries to get in these comments saying like, oh, Tariq just did what Ghost wasn't willing to do. Yeah, okay, I can get that point. But y'all are not going to sit here and talk shit about Brayden and still love Tommy in the original Power when they were both on the same fucking type of time. Like, let's acknowledge, yeah, the characters in the original Power said that Tommy was a liability, and yes, Ghost should have cut Tommy off. But what I'm saying is, and I hope y'all get what I'm saying, keep the same energy as far as the fans. Let's keep the same energy as far as the fans. As far as what they did in the shows, okay, somewhat understandable. But as far as the fans, let's keep all the same energy here. Besides that, Kane is supposed to marry Noma now and be Mecca's replacement so that she can get the green cards. Then you got Effie, who wants to leave the game, and she wants to go to the school in California for robotics and shit. Drew and Diana, like I said, they have their little moments when they decide, oh, I don't want to be in the game. Oh, wait, I do want to be in the game. Diana does get pregnant with Tariq's baby, which I hate that that's a theory that wound up becoming true because fans, I don't know why, fans were very obsessed since season 1, which wanted Tariq's girlfriends becoming pregnant with his baby. I don't know why y'all had that theory since literally episode 1 of book 2, but hey, y'all got what y'all wanted. Your little fan predictions came true, I guess. So yeah, season 4, it was a clusterfuck, but I do have to admit that it was a good clusterfuck. I don't feel like they made a lot of stupid decisions like a lot of fans feel like they did. It just, I feel like, I like a lot of the things that they set up in season 4. It just, things didn't get proper conclusions, and I just feel like the writing had to be tweaked a little bit better. That's the thing that frustrates me about season 4. I can see where y'all was going with it, and I can see like why y'all did what y'all did, but it's like maybe a Star's problem. And no, I'm not of the camp that believes that season 4, or I'm not of the camp that believes that Ghost was canceled. Like, I know Michael Rainey Jr. said that, but he eventually came out in another interview to say that he was just trolling and joking with the fans when he said that. So because he's established that he was joking and trolling, I'm not of the camp that believes that the show was canceled. I don't think the show was actually canceled. So when I'm talking about this, I do believe that the writers were purposely trying to end these storylines with the 10 episodes that they were given. So yeah, like I said, man, season 4, big clusterfuck, but and I understand where y'all were trying to go with it, but I feel like Stars should have just, gave them a little extra dollars and let them maybe do like 2 to 3 more episodes, because it was obvious that this needed a couple more episodes. But it is what it is. The show still came to its conclusion. So now, how do I feel about the overall ending of the show because of all the storylines and all the recaps that I just made? I'm going to go character by character. Tariq. Actually, I should save Tariq for last because his character is actually my biggest problem with Ghosts. So, okay, let's go through. Brayden. He was a very loyal character from the beginning, and I kind of hated how they ended off his story, but I understand why they ended off his story like that. But I do believe that Brayden will continue on into the universe. I know Gianni said that Brayden's character was not going to continue on, but I have a strong feeling that Brayden is going to continue, and I don't think Brayden would get his own spinoff, but I do believe that Brayden is going to continue on. But here's my thing. From the beginning, Brayden has always been a loyal character to Tariq, so that's not the part that I really have a problem with. My thing is just the idea of making him a junkie literally out of fucking nowhere. It's already been established in the original seasons that Brayden has always used drugs, but he always used them responsibly. And I guess you could argue that like him losing touch with his family and him getting deeper into the game and it's probably stressing him out. I guess you could say like that's why. But I think my biggest problem with Brayden's character is you guys are literally rehashing Tommy. I get it. You guys are somewhat setting up book 2 to be somewhat like parallels to the original Power. But in my honest opinion, I like Brayden because he was a very different character than Tommy in the first few seasons. Yeah, he was the crazy white boy. He was the crazy loyal white boy, but he wasn't as crazy as Tommy. And I feel like Brayden had some characteristics that was different than Tommy. Tommy was a lot more ruthless. Brayden, he had a little bit of heart to him. So, and then also Brayden is more of he was more of that typical college bro and stuff like that. Not like typical college bro, but he was more of that than Tommy was. So I like Brayden for his differences. But then in the final season, y'all basically just made him coked out, more of a coked out Tommy. And I can't even believe y'all did that, because I don't know how more coked out you can be than Tommy in season 3 of the original Power, but y'all basically made him a more coked out version of season 3 Tommy. So that's my thing. Brayden is still my favorite character, even in season 4, but my thing is I hated how they basically just molded him more into Tommy each season. He could have got deeper into the game. He could have still dealt with not really trauma, but he could have dealt with the issues of being in the game and losing touch with his family without becoming more Tommy. Like, he could have still been his own character, but basically y'all just made him discount Tommy by the final season. Kane, out of season 4, Kane might actually be my favorite character, of season 4. Not even just because of his acting when Monet died, which that was heartbreaking, and I literally almost cried. I almost cried at that scene. It's well known between my friends and my family that a movie has never made me cry, and nothing has ever, like, there has been stuff that made me come close to crying, but nothing has ever made me actually cry, but seeing Kane's reaction to Monet's death actually did bring me very close to tears. I probably say in stuff in media that made me come close to crying, Kane crying at Monet's death, yeah, top 3. But yeah, Kane, actually, I really don't have too much of a problem with Kane's character in season 4. I feel like his character was actually written very well, actually. I just hear beeping in my apartment complex and I don't know what it is. So yeah, Kane, I actually have no problem with the writing of his character. Effie, bitch should have died. That's all I'm gonna say. Bitch should have died. She was here mostly for no fucking reason except for when she had the blippity bloop on a computer. Yeah. I don't really have much to say about Effie because, like, honestly, she should have just died. But conveniently, everything just always ends perfectly for her. Drew, like I said, most of his storyline was throughout the whole show. Most of his storyline was literally what dude is he fucking, and occasionally, I don't really feel like being in the game. So I didn't really care how they ended his character. I wanted him to die at the beginning of season 4, but I'm not really too mad that he didn't die. It's just he wasn't really that big of a character anyway for me to really care that deeply about where his story was going to go. Arguably, same with Diana. I really did not start caring for Diana at all until she lost her baby, because I feel like that was a very sad scene. The cop knew what the fuck she was doing when she purposely was beating on Diana and basically caused her to lose the baby. That's probably the only time in all of book 2 that I ever even cared about Diana. I know everybody wants to bring up the dinner table scene. That was funny, but that doesn't necessarily make me care about Diana. I really never gave a fuck about Diana's character. So however she ended, you know, she basically became the new Monet and is pretty much being set up for her to continue being in the game, and she's going to be the person in the family that kind of carries on Monet's legacy and, you know, does what she do in New York. Oh, I forgot to say, Kane definitely going to be in the game. I think out of every character in book 2, well, it's obvious that Tariq is going to get some type of spinoff. They're never going to get rid of their golden boy, but in terms of characters from book 2, Kane definitely deserves the spinoff out of every single character, even over Braden. Like Kane definitely deserves that shit. He has the smarts. He has the bodies behind him, which, interesting fact, I think it was CJ's Funny Vids. He did a compilation of all the kills in book 2. And is it interesting that Kane is the first person to catch a body in the series and the last person to catch a body in the series? So it's funny because I had this debate with my boy. Okay, I guess I'm going to say early how I feel about Tariq. Actually, besides Monet, I already said how I feel about everybody else. So I'm going to say this real quick, talk about Monet, then I'll circle back to Tariq. But I had a debate with my friend the other day, now that book 2 is over, and I said that Tariq is the top drug dealer in New York, and he basically became who Ghost was in the original Power. But I felt like it was completely undeserved. And I felt like, if anything, the way that the writers handled Kane throughout this series set Kane up perfectly to be the new Ghost, in my opinion. Like, if Kane was to stay in New York at the end of this series, he would be a perfect new Ghost. Like, they set him up perfectly to be the new Ghost. And I feel like everything that Tariq has, or not everything, but I feel like him becoming the top drug dealer in New York is unearned. So yeah, but I'll get back to that. Monet, here's my thing. Monet was always a great character. It's just Mary J. Blige just wasn't that good of an actress. I said that before, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it. But in terms of Monet's story, I liked her story, and I liked how basically her story was a redemption arc. Every year, there's always some type of debate on who's the worst mom in the Power universe: Tasha, Rock, Monet. And in my opinion, I always said Tasha, but Monet was a very close second for the worst mom in the Power universe to me. And I feel like a lot of what she's done in season 4 definitely Definitely, I won't say that. I won't say that she's a better mom than Rock, because I think Rock is the best mom in the Power universe. I still don't think Monet is the best mom, but with everything that she did in season 4 to try to gain her kids' trust and to try to, show that she's trying to be a better person, I can definitely see a good redemption arc with Monet. And she does put up a good argument now for being the best mom in the Power universe, especially since she lost her life saving the kid that felt the most neglected by her. So, Monet's death scene, you know, it doesn't make me take away that I thought Mary J wasn't that great of an actress for her. But in terms of Monet's character, Monet is honestly one of the best written characters in the Power universe. Shame that they didn't get a better actress for her. No disrespect, Mary. You are a legend. You are an icon. But I'm just keeping it real. It's a shame that they didn't get a better actress for her. But in terms of character, Monet is one of the best characters in the Power universe. So I'll give her that. And she had one of the best stories. And not to talk too much shit about Mary J, but she did get better in each season. I'll give her that. She did actually get better in each season. And her best acting was literally Monet's death scene. And I'm not saying that as, it's her best acting, but that's not. No, like, honestly, she actually did do a really good job. So I'm not here to completely talk shit about Mary J. It's just, she did get better with each season, and in season 4, she did her thing. I'm going to admit that. But yeah, Monet, I have no problems with her in terms of how she was written in season 4. Now, like I said, back to Tariq, and my biggest problem with Ghost overall. I can see where people are coming from when they say, well, I can somewhat see when they say that, because when I saw the finale, I was like, Tariq is kind of in the same position that he already was in. Somewhat. He was already somewhat in this position. Not necessarily him being the biggest drug dealer, but it was like he already had Braden and Effie basically working for him. The Tejadas, that was supposed to be like a partnership, but let's keep it real. By season 3, they were basically equals. So they weren't telling him what to do like they did in season 1 and 2. I just feel like Tariq becoming the biggest drug dealer just wasn't earned. And when I was in that debate with my boy, he was saying, oh yeah, but he got here because of this. He got here, remember this in season 1 and season 2. That's the thing. And when I tell people this, I hope that you guys kind of get what I'm saying when I say this. But just because we see how it happened, that doesn't necessarily mean that he deserves it story-wise. Because throughout most of book 2, Tariq's story was basically him trying to get his family into safety. Okay, I can understand that. He got all his family into witness protection. He got them out of witness protection at the end of season 4 or in the finale, but he moved them away. So okay, I can get that. I can get that. The part that I can't get is, let me put it like this. In the original Power, even though Ghost at the original Power was a lot older than Tariq, at the end of book 2 Ghost, and it's pretty much implied that Tariq is probably going to get another spinoff. You can tell that when Ghost was the biggest drug dealer in New York, he had experience behind him. He had the respect of the streets. And yes, my boy did bring up the fact that people didn't know, like people in his legal world didn't know that he was Ghost, and people that knew him as Ghost didn't know that he was James St. Patrick. Yes, obviously, I know that part. But even if you want to bring that aspect up, Tariq still failed in that aspect, because basically everybody knows what Tariq be doing, even though he wasn't legally, proven to have done that stuff. The whole show, like all the side characters, the people at Stansfield, literally all treat Tariq as a drug dealer, because it's like, okay, you might have not gotten caught legally, but nigga, we know who you are. So even if you want to talk about that aspect, whether how people look at him in his legal and illegal view, he failed at that as well. But that brings up another aspect. I was saying that Ghost, he got respect in the streets. He got muscle. We can tell that he, got into fights. There was even little throwaway lines between Ghost and Tommy where they would talk about like different missions that they've been on throughout over the years where, when it comes to Tariq, yeah, we're watching his story, so they don't necessarily have to throw in throwaway lines or nothing like that. But it's just like, I don't see the respect of the streets that Tariq really necessarily has. Everything that he's gotten here is literally by circumstance. Because like I said, he was working under the Tejadas in season 1 and 2. The only reason that he even got to the level that he was at being equals with them is just because Noma knew that he was involved in Mecca's death just as much as the Tejadas was. So just because Noma knew that he was also involved, she just said, okay, you're working with them to give me my money. Like, she basically treated him as an equal. That's circumstance, in my opinion. So like I said, like, I just feel like the ending that Tariq got was just more circumstance and less like we really got to see him earn the respect of the streets and like, stuff like that. So, I mean, maybe me and Corey can talk about this, when we do our video together, because like maybe he might have a differing opinion. And that's why I like discussing power with Corey, because like sometimes we'll have different opinions and like, I can see where he's coming from. But it's just like, I just don't feel like the ending that Tariq got was necessarily earned. Obviously, because it's his story, obviously I do feel like he was going to end up in a better position, but I feel like he shouldn't have earned the top New York spot. Like maybe if he was a prominent person in New York, okay, but to earn the top New York spot was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know about all of that. But overall, the ending of book 2, or let me talk about the finale, and then I'll talk about book 2 overall. The ending of book 2, I feel like it was, some parts were anticlimactic, and some parts I feel like was overdone, which is kind of weird because some parts I feel like they didn't do enough, and then some parts I felt like they done too much. Like Tariq being the top drug dealer in New York, done too much. The anticlimactic part was definitely how they handled Carter and not implementing Rashad Tate more. I don't know, maybe Lorenz Tate had other things that he was filming and other obligations, but I feel like they did not utilize Rashad Tate enough. How they took down Carter, it just kind of, like other people were saying, it just kind of fell into their hands very easily. Tariq, how he handled Braden, I can understand why he handled Braden like that, but I feel like there should have been more setup to it. It's just like randomly, like out of nowhere, like, hey, yo, bro, like, you're gonna be my number 2. Like, you're not gonna work with me no more. Like, I feel like they should have had more scenes building up to it. Like, obviously, we've seen the reckless things that Braden did, even though if we're going to be fair, Tariq definitely did some reckless shit this season just as much. Killing Junior was unnecessary. Killing Salim was very unnecessary. So we're not going to sit here and act like Tariq didn't just do as much reckless shit this season. And because he's the main character, you could arguably say he's done more reckless shit this season. But all that aside, basically, I'm just saying that there could have been more buildup opposed to like the only scene that we really get about Tariq making Braden number 2 is the actual scene where he makes him number 2. Like, I feel like there should have been more of a thought to it and not just showing what Braden did, but, more Tariq thinking about it. But yeah, and then like I said, my main thing is the story, or my other things is the storylines of Drew and Diana picking. I will be fair with Diana. We have actually seen a buildup of things that led her to want to be the new Monet and keep the family business going. But for Drew, for him to want to just get all this power from working under Carter to just him automatically being like, yeah, I'm gonna leave and do my art thing finally. It's just like there was certain decisions that just kind of was made just to kind of wrap the show in a little bow. So I don't know. Maybe it really could have benefited to more episodes. Well, I know it could have benefited to more episodes, but maybe it could have even benefited to another season. But honestly, as far as the finale, honestly, I don't even see why this show needs to necessarily end. Because I know what some people are saying, like, oh, this is Tariq's story with the Tejadas, but listen to what you say at the beginning. Tariq's story. Whether the Tejadas played a big part in Ghost thus far, this is still Tariq's story. So even if they wanted to take a new direction, like even if they wanted to do a season 5 where the show would still be focused on Tariq, it's just like, you still could have went a different direction regardless of whether the Tejadas played a part in it or not. So I don't know. Like, I really didn't necessarily think that this show needed to end. And before you guys, comment it, I talked about it in the past. I know the whole thing with Stars trying to save money. They'll end one show to make another one out. I know all that. I talked about it in the past episode of the podcast. So, I don't need that explained to me. I know that's why they're ending Ghost. But I'm just saying, like, if that wasn't a thing for Stars, I wouldn't necessarily see a reason to end Ghost, where it's at, especially with Tariq basically continuing to do a lot of the same things he's already done. But overall, as an overall series, what can I say about Ghost? Ghost is a very good show. I'll give you this. I'll say that Ghost is a very good show, especially in the Power universe. When I say that it's not touching the original Power, to be fair, and like I said, I'm being fair here. In terms of not touching the original Power, that's still not a bad thing at all, because honestly, the original Power is arguably my favorite show of all time. I kind of go back and forth with this and Boy Meets World being my two favorite shows of all time. Like, I go back and forth on which one is exactly my favorite show of all time. Most times I'm always going to say Boy Meets World, but Power is a very good contender. So when I say that some of the seasons of Ghost isn't touching the original Power, I'm basically saying that it's shy of touching perfection. That's basically what I'm saying. So when I say that Ghost doesn't touch the original Power, that's not me saying a bad thing. That's just me saying, like, it's just not going to touch a show that I actually think is perfection. So, if I had to give an overall rating to Power Book 2 Ghost, considering everything, characters, storylines, how many seasons it got, considering everything, what would I rank it out of 10? Honestly, I'd probably give Ghost, it like I feel like a good decision is an 8.5. I feel like a really good decision is 8.5 because, overall characters are good. Like, there's some characters I really didn't give a damn about, like Drew and Diana overall, but where the highs for characters were there, they were really high. Like Tariq, I might not feel like his ending was necessarily earned, but overall, I don't have too much complaints for his character, and honestly, I can't wait to see what they do with his character in the future. Brayden, I don't feel like this is the last we'll see of him, so I can't wait to see what they do with his character. I don't feel like his characterization was too bad. I really only have a problem with his characterization when it comes to season 4, but they can always turn that back around. Like, they don't have to keep making him the new Tommy. Kane, like I said, of all the characters, definitely deserves a spinoff, so I literally have no problem with his character and how they progressed him. Monet, like I said, one of the best written characters in the Power universe, so no problem with that. But yeah, overall characters, story, and all of that, just because I feel like the ending could have been better doesn't mean that everything up to that point wasn't necessarily good. So overall, book 2, 8.5, pretty good show. And, I'm really looking forward to what they do in the future. And one of my concerns with book 2 is, depending on what they do with Tariq's next spinoff or whatever they do in the future, I don't want this show to just feel like a stepping stone type show. If you kind of get if you guys get what I'm saying, I don't want this show to just be a stepping stone in Tariq's journey. I want this to be something important to Tariq's journey. So I wonder what they're going to do with him in the future. If I had to make my prediction on where they're going to take his character and his storyline in the future, personally, I do feel like maybe that series with him and Tommy sharing being main characters, I do feel like that's a better decision than if they were to give him another solo series. What I feel like they should do is, because obviously there's going to be spinoffs from, these spinoffs. Like book 2 is going to lead to more spinoffs. Book 4, when that eventually ends, is going to lead to more spinoffs. We already know what the end of Raising Kanan, whenever that ends. We already know Origins is going to come out next after that. So if book 2 is to spawn more spinoffs, I do like the idea of Tommy and Tariq sharing a spinoff together. So, I like the idea of that. Instead of Tariq having another solo outing, then Tommy and Tariq could work together. And then Kane, like I said, of all the characters, even if Tommy and Tariq don't share another spinoff, and even if Tariq doesn't get his own solo spinoff, whatever, Kane deserves one. Of all the power characters out of book 2, he deserves one. And there's definitely something for Brayden. Gianni Paolo, who plays Brayden, he teased, that next year there was going to be an announcement. He said something like Trust coming in 2025. So who knows if that's like a project that he's on called Trust, or if maybe the next Power spinoff is going to be called Power Trust, something like that. So, we'll just have to wait and see. Besides Kane, is there any other characters I don't mind having a spinoff? Like I said, I already feel like Tariq is getting something. If Brayden was to get one, wouldn't be my first choice. As much as I like Brayden's character, I can't see him as a main character. But if he was to get one, I'll check it out. God, please don't ever give Effie a spinoff. I don't even like Effie's character, and I feel like she should have died this season. So I think Effie is a character to where it's like, if she was to get a spinoff, I would kind of be like how my cousin is. Like, I'll watch clips, I'll read up on like what happens, but I'm not gonna I don't think I would actually pay attention to this show religiously. Like, I actually just don't really fucking like Effie at all, and I don't even think she would be a good main character. Diana, seeing how I didn't really have much of an opinion on her before, I guess it would be a good opportunity to actually give her a real character. So, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It just, I don't know. I feel like that would just be a weird choice. But yeah, I just feel like Brayden. I just feel like Kane and Tariq really are just the best options in terms of spinning off book 2. But yeah. So I know this was a long episode, and I know most of it is just me recapping and me kind of rambling, but y'all know I love Power, so I can just do this shit for hours. I did not intend on rhyming, but yeah, like I can do this shit for a long time. So I love Power, and if you love Power, then you should consider subscribing, because a lot of times I do make Power-centered episodes on the podcast. If you guys have any thoughts on book 2, let me know how y'all felt about it down below. Like, how did y'all feel about the characters and storylines and stuff like that? And if you guys have different opinions than me, be respectful. But, I like dialogue, so we can talk about it. And yeah, I basically made this long ass episode about Power. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to have Corey on pretty soon so we can have like a full, like more bigger discussion on book 2. And as far as other content, you already know my end of the month, Blu-ray, DVD collection updates keep on going. Y'all really been going crazy over them. Y'all really been loving them. And I'm going to try to do more vlogs. I ain't going to lie. My life is kind of boring right now, so I don't know. But I'll try to do more vlogs. And yeah, with all that being said, also, I'm going to try to stay consistent. So next Tuesday, definitely expect an episode. But with all that being said, Tevin Jameer signing out. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.